3. Welcome back to Insomniac Live. We're here with a very special guest today. As you guys all know, Ted Price, founder, CEO of Insomniac Games, and we're going to be playing Super Metroid today on the Super Nintendo. Well, they're playing it on a Super Nintendo Classic, and without really, we're not going to nothing really too much to talk about to lead us into this one, but we're just going to start right from the top. Do you want me to play? You want to play?
I'll start, yeah.
All right, you give us a start. So, welcome to Insomniac Live. Ted, first time on the show. Glad to have you here.
And it's wonderful to be playing this game, which for me was, I'd say, the most inspirational game I played.
I think, so when we were even conceptualizing the show, one of the ones is like, well, we have to have Ted come play Super Metroid. It's anytime anyone ever asks, we always get a lot of what's your favorite game questions? Can we get a few Insomniacs to, be in this Game Informer article with their favorite game of all time? Ted has consistently, for as long as I've known you, it's always been Super Metroid.
It has, and I've played a lot of games since then that have come close to dethroning this game for me, but nothing approaches the sheer brilliance of game design that I think has lasted through the years. And I think it's also important to note that this was a sequel as well. I mean, the first one was great. I remember playing the first one when I was in college, sophomore year in college, I think. And then after I'd started Insomniac, this one came out, and it just raised the bar in every area. But it built on the mechanics that the first one had I think, introduced to the world in terms of what we consider sort of a Metroid-style game. But it just did it better in all ways. And I guess I liked it so much because I was familiar with the mechanics, and I didn't feel like I had to relearn things from scratch. But on the other hand, it was so much bigger, and the mechanics were cooler, and the gadgets and weapons that you got were more interesting.
And it was even technically a sequel to there's a Game Boy one too. I don't know if you played that one, but I was obsessed with the Game Boy one when around that time because you could play Samus
I know I didn't. I didn't have a Game Boy. In fact, I don't think I owned a Game Boy until much later.
If you steal one of your kids' 3DSs, they just re-released the Game Boy one and totally did a full remaster of it.
Really?
Yeah, it just came out last week or 2 weeks ago maybe. But it's a whole remaster of Samus Returns on the original Game Boy. But they just put it on 3DS. Oh yeah, it's killer.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want to introduce the kids to Metroid, here you go, play this. Brylon and Irie0, thanks for following. If you haven't clicked the follow button on Twitch, you can follow us here. We stream 3 times a week or so. We play classic games, new games, Insomniac games with a variety of people from across the studios. So come on by and click that follow button. And I have Beast Blood says, hi, Ted Price.
Hey,
so
Beast Blood. I want to point out, I also really appreciated this style of storytelling. It's super simple. They don't spend a lot of time explaining what's been going on for the last 100 years, but they give you enough to understand that you are this explorer exploring I think it's a distress call from a space station.
Yeah, you're like a bounty hunter explorer type, and I mean, so much of the game storytelling, basically once you get past those opening cutscenes, it's pretty much all this environmental storytelling of these different areas, and you kind of have to piece together what happened and what the clues were, and
I'll mention the first game did that as well. I mean, I think I remember the first game being starting on the ship. You start on the ship and you're going down into the caverns, and that was also one of those really nice sort of environmental storytelling pieces where you see the ship, you see the basic landscape, and it creates a sense of mystery. You don't know what's going on, just like this does too.
There's a strong sense of isolation and loneliness kind of in the Metroid games because it's just you in this cavernous, gigantic. I mean, right off the bat, we saw this.
This
we know
familiar,
the Metroid.
right?
Yep, the Metroid has escaped. We got a bunch of dead bodies. What?
Yeah.
So simple, but that room, okay, something broke free and everybody's dead.
Well, and I think we forget sometimes that kind of environmental storytelling is still really relevant today, and incredibly important for players. I mean, a lot's going on in games, but those subtle cues that you get from environments help you understand things that just kind of help fill in the blanks a lot of the times without having to rely on lots of exposition.
So this is gonna be fun. You're
Okay.
explaining this while fighting.
A boss.
It's Ridley, right? This is Ridley. I'm afraid like someone's gonna be like, no, that's the other named boss in the Metroid series.
And it's funny. I'm trying to double jump, and I'm just.
Oh, you don't even have it yet, right?
Exactly. Yeah, and I'm failing. Okay, so and I think they give you a break. That's right.
I think you're not even. I don't think you're supposed to win that one.
Yeah.
And now you have to like evacuate.
Yes. Okay. Which interestingly too, I remember when we were making Resistance, and in Ratchet as well. The first Ratchets, we would always, not always, but we would talk about escapes, right? With timers, and I think that subconsciously we may have been referencing this game.
Yeah.
Because many times we'd be running out of an exploding building of some sort. Of course, that may have been referenced to movies, which of course this is as well.
It's that whole like classic like self-destruct sequence.
Yes. Okay. What am I doing here?
I think you go up. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Come on. That's right. Tilts gives me a little bit of help.
Up again.
There we go.
Man.
Oh, you're watching the timer. I'm not even watching the timer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Part of it's sound too.
Oh, you got it. You got it.
Come on. There we go.
All right.
I think the sound really helps because if we were pumping up the sound in here, I would be reminded.
Yeah, the music is really intense there, or like it just like ramps up, like you have to escape, and now we've been back to the station that we'd seen in the past and seeing that, and you crash land. Is that what happens? I feel like you. I haven't played this game
getting them
in
mixed
years.
up actually.
Yeah, I know. I feel it, or you just go to the planet. I can't remember one way or the other, but you end up on this planet, and the rest of the game takes place here.
Yes.
You were saying right before this that you had not played the game for years, but then about a year and a half ago you went back and replayed this game.
Yes.
What was that? You said you were like, I keep saying it, so I need to go check and make sure it's still my favorite game. So what was that like when you replayed this game for the first time in a number of years?
Well, it kind of reinforced how great the design is. I mean, I think it really does stand up after all of these years in terms of the unlocks and the puzzles and the layout of the world. And I think one of the reasons I went back and played it was because we were making Song of the Deep. And here's a great example of something that we reference in Ratchet a lot. Back in the very first Ratchet, I remember we talked about backtracking and how important it is to leave obvious clues that you'll remember after you've gotten some gadget. And of course, this is when you get the ball.
Morph ball. Yeah. Like, oh, hey, you're gonna want to come back here. The first Ratchet especially has a lot of like Metroid design cues to it, where it's just there's so many places. You're always backtracking to a planet with a new gadget you found because there's that key device that you didn't have before, key gadget you didn't have.
Yep, and that was key to us. And I think that we were
yet again.
We referenced Nintendo games quite a bit. I mean, Mario, we had referenced quite a bit for Spyro,
right?
And I think still reference it for Ratchet as well, just because its controls are just so good, and will always be sort of the bar for platformers.
You're always trying to chase those, like that perfect control has been, I think, Nintendo's hallmark over, across all of their games. Everything just always feels so fluid and tight.
It does, and it's not just the character control, it's the camera as well. The camera is essentially invisible in Mario 64. I mean, okay, going back and playing it now, yes, it can create it. You can make it do things that you don't want it to do. But back then, especially because it was one of the first,
it was a groundbreaking camera system. Like, and just the idea of, I think even the idea of giving people that, where they made the camera a character in the world and taught you that right off the bat, like, hey, this button controls this character. And that mental connection for people who'd never played a lot of 3D games. We didn't have the dual analog setup at the time. Like, how do you make that happen? They were brilliant in teaching people how to start interacting with 3D characters in a 3D game world.
Yeah.
And everyone else, is cribbing off of that for a long time.
Yeah.
So we're going down to the deep here, and Setzer Davin says we need more games like Super Metroid and Song of the Deep. I feel like there are a lot of there you go. Now we got the Morph Ball. I feel like there are a lot of Metroidvania games. It's not like 10 years ago maybe that was kind of a lesser genre, but I feel like a ton of people do make games in that genre now. Do you have the bomb?
I
Did
don't
you
have
get
the bomb. Yeah, so
Oh, you have to go a different direction, maybe.
I need to. I'm
Or
trying
maybe
to
you have to-
remember why is this guy?
You shoot that?
Oh yeah, duh.
You shoot straight up underneath it,
Yeah.
maybe.
Nope.
Or maybe not. It's gonna be really funny if we're trapped in this room for some silly reason. Why can't we go?
Well, there's the. I need to get the bomb at some point, and
There must be another. Oh, I wonder if maybe you can. Can you? What if you turn into the ball on that?
oh, okay.
Or is there a hidden passage? One of the two.
Oh right, maybe that's what it is.
No.
Nope. I feel like an idiot.
I'm like, huh? Where is the? And you can't shoot that. Is it
Yeah.
another button? Is there like Y or something? Like,
I'm trying all the buttons. See. Wow.
okay,
I thought
Chad,
I knew what I was doing. and-
Okay, Chad, if you remember what we're doing, I'm like, doesn't it always come with the bomb?
Yeah,
It's not.
usually, and that was one of the great things about this game is it forces you to use your new
Abilities.
ability
Right away.
right after you get them, and I'm just drawing a complete blank here. Got the morph ball.
Do you have to press down and B, or something like that? Is it?
No, usually, and one of the great things about as I'm stuck, I'm saying one of the great things about this game is it will give you help messages as well. And
Crouch and shoot the small block first, maybe.
Okay.
If you go over there, you just have to crouch and shoot it. There. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's like don't we have a bomb or something for this?
Yes.
No. Thank you.
You know, that may be the curse of having played it
Too many times.
and
It's like,
expected-
wait, isn't there something more tricky to this than just shooting it?
Yeah.
Yellow-bellied marmot. Thank you for that tip. We appreciate it because that was embarrassing, but we figured it out. And these you need the bomb for
Yeah,
though.
right.
That it's like, oh, you can't shoot down, so you got to come back after you have the bomb. And I'm like, I thought you needed a bomb for those blocks. I know you do, but apparently you can also shoot them.
Okay, now I go up. Now there were definitely a couple places where I could use the morph ball to.
Oh yeah, we passed a bunch. There was that
Yeah.
door on the upper left, and a bunch of things like that. So Super Metroid #1. What are the other like top games of all time that you would?
Last of Us for me was one of those mind-blowing games of late, just because it did. Okay, I'm now feeling dumb again.
Guess we can't go that way again.
Yeah, it really it created such a tense atmosphere throughout with its environmental cues and its audio. Its audio is fantastic, and the combat I felt was incredibly visceral for a third-person game. Hard to do, but it succeeded in making me feel like I was there. The stakes were always high. I was always in danger of being discovered or killed by various bad guys in the game, and of course the relationship between Joel and Ellie was
Right.
was great, really well presented.
I
Okay.
think that game does a great. Maybe we can shoot down.
Yeah, I'm just being dumb. Jump to shoot down.
Oh yeah, you totally can shoot down. I'm like, oh yeah, we can't shoot down. We need the bomb for this. As we then like backtrack, like, oh, I guess we can't shoot down. Apparently, I should have taken an evening and played some Super Metroid just to make sure I was totally first. There's the bomb. So you get
Okay,
right to
so
that.
you know what's crazy? It's I said I'd played this a year and a half ago. I played Metroid. It was the original. is what I
Oh, you
played,
didn't
and
play
that's why
Super
I'm-
Metroid.
Yeah, and that's why I'm feeling dumb at this point. So
Well, I'm like, of course I could get through Super Metroid, no problem. It's actually the Super Nintendo Classic's been fun because I've been playing there's been a game club on NeoGAF that's they did Super Mario World, now they're doing Punch Out, but I've been playing Super Mario World and one of their challenges was try and get every exit. There's 96 exits in the levels, essentially every exit's being a different way out, and there's stuff I had never seen before, and there's stuff I had never seen before in Mario World. After playing it, as a kid and playing remakes and stuff, I'm like, I've never seen this level before. I've never seen this exit before. I didn't know this was here. And realizing that there was this game that I loved that I actually hadn't seen all of was kind of. Now you use the missile on that one,
I
right? The
gotta
pink
select
doors.
it. And how do I select
Or is it? Or do you just have to use A or Y?
Y?
Maybe.
Using Y, using A.
Or maybe it's the bumper switches weapons. Or is it select?
Oh, right.
There's select. There you go. Try
thank
that.
you.
Yeah.
Shoot. Nope. Select, and fire. What am I doing?
Or is it?
Okay, select fire.
There it is. Oh, one more.
Maybe.
One more.
Right.
There it is. It takes 5 missiles to open a door.
Yeah. So now I'm out of missiles. Okay.
Yeah. Think about games have come a long way usability wise. That would never pass a usability test.
No, definitely not.
Like, you had to learn how to do this stuff. You had to figure it out.
It depends on the game. I mean, if you played Cuphead, right? Maybe it would have passed usability, right?
They do give you a whole tutorial right at the beginning. Here's all the exact moves you can use, and then from that, and even every item you can buy in the shop, they teach you how to use it. So there's no there's nothing there saying, oh, here's how to. It's just I guess it's just press the X button.
I feel dumb. I didn't even read that.
Yeah. So maybe it wouldn't pass usability. Just didn't realize it. So X.
Yeah.
Maybe X does it after all. X marks the spot. But again, it's interesting how different games are now in terms of the amount of testing that goes into making sure that you put play testers through a game to ensure that things like that work.
Well, I think we debate that all the time. We debate things like that all the time, such as how difficult, how many times should we wait for a player to fail before we pop up a help message, right? And for example, I'm thinking here, what am I doing?
No, I think you want to go. Do you think we have to go back up now? Right now that we've gotten everything down here.
Okay.
I think.
Well, there's a gray door up top.
I'm wondering but it feels like we got everything down there.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Yeah, it seems right.
It's funny, I come on the show and I say Super Metroid is my favorite game, and I'm flailing at it. So.
Well, favorite game doesn't mean we've played it very often in recent years. So that's kind of the fun. That's the pirates are back. That's part of the fun. And I love the Super Nintendo Classic for that, because there's games I love that I haven't played for years, and it's sometimes it's amazing to go back to them and realize how how I've forgotten things or how different they are than I remember. So that is half the fun.
They by the way, didn't teach me anything about energy here too. That's one of the other things that we wouldn't see today, is sort of you pick up something and it's not explained.
Yep. What is that? Okay. I guess. Oh, I picked that up and my energy went up. I guess that's health.
Right. Not a bad thing though. I mean, I think there's again a debate we have here about hand holding.
Yep.
How much do you hold players' hands? Yep. I mean, that sense of discovery when you have that aha moment and you realize that you just figured out a major mechanic it's gratifying.
Yep. There's games. I mean, certainly games like a Dark Souls or something live, and that's not even a discovery. That's just a learning how to do it. There are games that thrive on that. On that aspect. Oh yeah, a little health there for you, I think. Yep. If you're just joining us, this is Insomniac Live. We're here playing Super Metroid with Insomniac CEO and founder Ted Price. Super Metroid is Ted's favorite video game of all time. And
you wouldn't know it by how badly I'm playing it right now, though.
But hey, we're revisiting it, and you're talking while playing. That's always a challenge. Chat, if you guys have questions, let us know. Make sure you click the follow button.
No. This is one of those things I do remember vividly about the game. Was all of these vertical passageways.
Yep.
Where you make one mistake and you're screwed.
Oh, nice. That actually lets you dodge a little more efficiently.
Yeah.
I have Beast Blood says, question, Ted, what's your responsibility in the studio now? Are you still actively developing?
No, I'm not creating assets for the games or designs. However, I am. Oh my God, helping review elements of the games,
right.
Whether it's stuff that's happening in Spider-Man or The Unspoken or other games. In fact, one of my favorite activities here is the usability test, because I volunteer as a usability tester all the time. And since I'm not creating any of the levels or working on them in any capacity, I feel like I'm a little bit more objective.
Right.
Because one of the aspects of being a developer is you lose your objectivity.
Right. You look at it too closely. You can't see the forest from the trees after you've seen it every day for weeks or months.
Right.
Yeah, it gets really, really difficult. So you have to have that fresh blood or fresh eyes looking at it.
And there are a bunch of us here who, there are a bunch of us here who do that. I mean, John Fiorito, who's our chief operating officer, does that. Brian Hastings, chief creative officer, and none of us, we're all spending a lot of time reviewing stuff and just giving advice to creative directors and designers and department heads.
It's a lot different now than when you were creative directing, Resistance or Ratchet and Clank way back in the day. there's a lot more people here and a lot more of a company. The company's a lot bigger. There's a lot more to run when you have a studio in North Carolina and you know, what, 250 employees on both coasts. That's
Actually, almost 300 now.
there's almost 300 employees between both coasts. So with 300 people, that's a lot different than 40 people sitting around making Ratchet, where you can, you know, run the company and be creative director.
Well, that in itself was a problem too. I mean, I see that the less development-ish parts of my job involve working with partners, publishers, negotiating contracts, working on company culture, which is actually pretty fun with our HR department and our department heads, talking about leadership and figuring out what we can do better process-wise. Those are great challenges, and they're very similar to the kinds of development challenges we have in games, because there's no right answer to, say, improving one's culture or fixing a problem that team members say exists within the studio. There are many, many different ways to attack it, and it's kind of fun to figure out what's going to be right for Insomniacs. And that involves a lot of talking to Insomniacs and asking for opinions and asking for advice as well from all the Insomniacs. What do you want? What do you want to do? And one of the things we did last year was I went and talked to every single Insomniac and asked them what would make us the best developer in the world. What do you think we need to do? And I got about 1,000 answers, literally 1,000 answers, and put them all on an internal website for everybody so people could read them. And we've been actually tackling a lot of what Insomniacs have said we should do or shouldn't do to become better.
What has that process been like for you, just in terms of like, what was the process of talking to all those people like? And that's a daunting amount of feedback. How do you handle processing and building around that much information? Like, that alone seems like a challenge.
Well, actually, it's fun. I like data, so I enjoyed the collection and the sort of reporting of all the data. But more fun for me, maybe in a really weird analytical way, was collating it and putting it into categories and trying to figure out how all of these various suggestions for improving Insomniac fit into challenges and solutions to those challenges. And it's somewhat arbitrary because I got to try to ferret out the various solutions people were talking about and take 10 comments and tie them all to one solution. But that is a lot. It's a puzzle. It's basically a big puzzle, and I moreover enjoyed understanding what Insomniacs find important, because to me, Insomniac is the people, right? We can't do what we do without everybody in the company being engaged and feeling like we can all be creative and we can shoot for these ambitious games and work together on them. So sometimes there are a lot of things that stand in the way, just process, and we have to just address them, deal with them, and not ignore them. But doing that whole process of going through that whole process of talking to everybody helps me prioritize what's most important. What are the biggest issues that are standing in our way right now? And of course, that's a process that I've learned will never end.
Right. As we continue growing as a studio and the games change and the people change and the technology changes, the challenges change every year, year in and year out.
That's right.
K-Tiger34 says, when you asked everyone that was a trick question because you're already the best developer in the world.
We're not, but that's really nice of that person to say.
K-Tiger34.
K-Tiger34.
Yeah.
That's a great
You may know. I think that's Cena, so he's one of our fans that you've seen at events on several occasions, and hopefully he'll be coming to our big Ratchet and Clank 15th anniversary celebration at Gallery Nucleus here in Los Angeles on November 11th.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I mean, that's something that's I would have never expected we would have.
Having a 15th anniversary party for Ratchet and Clank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, none of us thought, especially that first one, none of us thought that the game would be much more than just another competitor for the platformer crown, but it managed to survive.
Yep. And thrive. I mean, Ratchet PS4, I don't know where it is at this point, but at least at launch, it was the fastest selling Ratchet and Clank game that we'd ever had.
Yeah.
So I think you could roll under there.
I was somehow I was not able to. I deselected my morphing ball.
Oh, okay.
So that's interesting that they let you deselect it, right?
That is weird, actually.
Yeah.
You could turn it off.
I guess.
Oh, but you don't have the bombs yet,
Oh,
so
wait
you
a
actually can't go through there yet.
Second. All right. So now it's telling me there's a save point or something.
There is a save point up above us.
Right. And in fact, because the enemies are there, that should be telling me I need to go back up there.
Yep,
I mean, that's yet another one of those design cues that is brilliant and understated. And I kind of recall talking about that with Insomniacs long ago, where we would debate, should we have the bodies of enemies remain after you had killed them, because it reminds you where you've been. But then a lot of the times it was too expensive to keep them around.
Right, yeah.
So
it's like we do need to despawn those and save those resources.
Yep.
There's
there we go.
What are some of the most famous Insomniac debates have been? I mean, I'll always remember, Chimera, pants or no pants.
Oh, okay, that wasn't the one I was thinking of. Yes, that was an amusing one. Back when we were designing the Chimera, first the Chimera, as you probably know, they started out as lizards.
Right.
And we made the change because Connie Booth from Sony said, it's not really that much fun to just shoot these lizards. Have you guys thought about maybe making something that looks like a person? And I think at first I thought, oh man, we put so much work into these lizards. What are you talking about? I kind of like shooting them. But then I thought about it and I realized, no, it isn't that exciting to actually shoot these guys. And as a shooter fan, I'm actually used to fighting against something that looks like it should be sentient and should have human-like behavior, because I can identify with it, I can predict maybe what it's going to do, and I can ascribe intelligent behavior to something that looks more like a human.
Right.
So we switched to the Chimera, and
I think you can ride on top of those.
Yes,
I remember
I do remember that, but at this point I don't need to. And let's see, I'm dumb.
There you go. It only costs 5 health. It's all good.
So during the design process, a lot of thought went into where did these Chimera come from, and the story that we wanted to tell was, well, the Chimera landed years ago, centuries ago, and had buried structures in, I think it was Siberia, and emerged eventually. And the way that they created their army was by taking humans and combining their parts and creating Chimera, and they looked like soldiers. But there was a type of Chimera who were former soldiers, former human soldiers. And so I think the reason we had the debate was because some people thought that Chimera with pants on looked goofy. I think that's what it was.
Yeah, some people didn't want the pants, some people wanted pants. It was very personal preference. Chimera with pants looked great, Chimera without pants looked terrible.
Yeah.
Chat, if you have an opinion on Chimera with pants, can you shoot those up there?
Probably not. Maybe. I think it looks like I need a bomb.
Nah.
Oh, you're right.
You might be able to.
Sure.
You might be able to.
Come on, shoot.
Nope. You do actually need a bomb or a missile for those.
Okay. Oh, missile. I have a missile, but I think
that
to me says.
I don't think so. That says bomb. It does say bomb, but this door doesn't.
Right. And so anyway, we went through the long Chimera pants debate, and pants won. I can't remember why or how. I don't remember what my opinion was.
I think you were on the pants side.
Was I? Okay.
I think so.
I think I was more interested in rationalizing the Chimera and giving some visual clues for players.
But maybe you weren't on the pants. I don't even know now. I just know that's like the famous silly debate of pants versus no pants.
Well,
pants did win big time.
Yes, and I think it kind of worked out. I remember that first video that we showed at E3. Oh man, I'm not good at these. At E3, where we had them streaming down the hill, and I think I was right. Oh wait. Yes, they were attacking you once you went into the town, and we had the Widowmaker as well on the hill. That was actually one of the coolest resistance moments that it had never made it into any of the games.
All right, it was basically a demo at that point.
Yeah.
Now this you can use missiles on.
Yes, I just missiles. I like the fact that the missiles have no splash damage. In today's games, you probably kill yourself.
You'd be getting hurt every time.
Yeah.
And here's the bomb, I think. Right? I might be wrong.
I think you're right. Better
because then, right on top. Or do you have to shoot it?
Oh, man, I used a missile. Bad.
Oh, there it is.
Okay. Yeah, let's get the bomb.
Yep, there's the bomb.
Okay, now I'm going to read the instructions. Let's see. Get to
set
the ball,
it
set
with
with
the
X.
All right, cool.
There we go.
Beastblood says, are Insomniacs developing Spider-Man right as we're talking right now? Yeah,
They
there
are outside of this room.
Yeah, all around this place. There are meetings happening, and that opens the gray doors that I think.
The bomb does?
Oh no, it doesn't. You have to shoot him now. You have to kill him.
Oh yeah, I did.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Oh yeah. Oh, but you can avoid getting hit by staying on the ground when he walks at you.
Oh.
Yeah, because it looks like
Maybe.
Oh, maybe not.
Oh. No. Okay. Nope. Oh, bad.
Yeah, you can definitely roll underneath him. I think
You can? Okay.
I think you were rolling underneath him before.
There we go. You're right.
So like that allows you to. It's like the teach you to drop bombs and stay on the ground.
Oh right. That's what I should be doing and not getting hit by those things. There we go. No, the bombs aren't actually hurting.
You'd have to shoot them. So you have to.
See that's a good design choice right there. That would have been better. I remember that moment too.
Where you die?
I can't remember if in Metroid 1 if when you die you lose your armor. That's a cool little scene though.
Yeah, I don't think you lose your armor. I think it's like they don't do the whole thing.
Kind of a mystery.
Drop you back to all the way back to the save point.
But I think the boss is basically right across the.
Yeah, you go up and over and then back down again. I think you have to go up a little.
Okay.
When we were playing Castlevania Symphony of the Night, we didn't have a PS1 save card, so we died and had to start the game over.
Oh, I feel better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So at least we have save points in this.
So, but actually, you know what? You're right. This is going to test my lack of jumping skills. Another big debate we had in Resistance in Resistance 2 was the weapon switching.
Oh, you're right.
And the weapon wheel versus having two weapons, and that was a tense debate.
Yeah, that wasn't like. I feel like a lot of debates get tense when. Can you use a missile on that?
I think I can use a bomb.
Oh, you don't have the bombs, so you got to go get them.
Oh, right.
No. Yeah, that debate was definitely more fierce.
Yeah.
Fiercely contested. But I think and to be fair, I think we actually do have a lot of very passionate debates between people here because people really care.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's never like a fight thing. It's always just more of everyone's very, very passionate about what we're doing and trying to make it the best, and then they sometimes have very strong opinions about that too.
Yep. And I think also people have take a lot of creative ownership of everything we make, and that's I think refreshing. And people understand that we need everybody to weigh in on stuff. I mean, it's design by committee is not a good method,
right?
But these games have become so large, and the demands I think of the audience have become so. What's the word? Demands.
Their expectations.
Expectations are really
high. Yeah,
especially
very
for
high.
variety. Right?
Yeah,
and when you're making big games, you need a lot of variety throughout the game, or it gets boring. So everybody needs to pitch in with answering the question, okay, what can make this area different? What can make this mission different? What can make this boss different?
If you're just joining us, this is Insomniac Live. We're here playing Super Metroid with Insomniac CEO and founder Ted Price. And we are just getting our bomb ball and going to have to fight. Man, what are these guys called? Ancients, Architects, something. I can't remember. They have a name. Maybe someone will remember. And I will say the guy that earlier gave us the tip was like, I never knew you could roll through that guy's legs to avoid damage. I thought you just had to tank him and like kill him as fast as possible. So I do feel a little good that I was like, oh yeah, you can roll right under his legs and then you.
You can't use missiles. What?
Oh.
Okay, that's lame.
Or maybe you can, but you just have to hit him in the chest, or
maybe
regular
right.
bullets hit him in the chest.
Go! Oh, I gotta be more defensive than offensive on this. Okay.
Someone asked someone said, well, a lot of your games now are. It's like, did you have big debates about frame rates in your games, like in changing from 60 to 30?
Yes, we did actually.
It was a big debate, and I will say I think at this point, we're not necessarily dogmatically tied to any specific frame rate because, for instance, the VR games are 90 frames a second, and Song of the Deep, which did use a different engine, but that game was, if you played on PC, you could get 60 frames a second on that. I think for that debate, it'll depend on the game, and it'll depend on what you're trying to do, and it'll depend on what platform it's coming out on, and what makes the most sense in terms of. We always try to make the best decisions, whether it's fidelity versus frame rate versus there's a whole lot of things that go into that subject.
No, go. That close Attack.
You got it.
Oh,
Oh, wait.
Oh, I thought I
no.
had it. I thought I had it.
Yeah, I thought you had it too.
Come on, come on, come on, come on. Don't die. Don't. No.
There you go.
That's
There
what
you
I needed.
Yeah, you gotta jump that attack. There you go.
Oh, up. I'm sweating. I'm sweating too. No.
It's not like there's a bunch of people watching you or anything.
Maybe it's not many, right? Just say it's about 3 people.
It's just about 3 people. Don't worry, it's okay. Oh wait,
Oh,
wait.
come on.
Oh,
he lost his
no.
head. He lost his head. Here we go. No.
I'm just impressed someone could get through this without. There he
There
is.
we go.
Yeah.
Okay.
You may want to go back to that save point now.
Yeah, that is something that has changed. We would put the save point a lot closer to the boss.
You beat a boss, and I mean games don't drag you out between those.
So I'll tell you another game you asked earlier. What other games I really enjoyed? One of my other favorites recently is Ori in the Blind Forest, and definitely was influenced by Metroid. But I think they did a much better job of putting continue points closer to bosses or to difficult challenges. Though I will say that some of those challenges were really, really tough. I must have played that ginkgo tree thing.
Oh, so many times.
100 times, I don't know, or more. And I just had to get through it because I really enjoyed the game so much. But that was one of those moments where I was thinking to myself, maybe I should be doing something else in my life.
and another kind of Metroidvania style game too.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt.
No, you're fine.
That was one of the reasons that I loved it so much was because it used similar mechanics and it did a really great job of giving you hints about places you could go, and once you would get a new ability, you have to remember to come back and explore. That's fun.
Let's see if there's any other questions from the chat. Sonic Destroyer said, "How can that thing still move if its head is blown off?" Well, that's a good question.
Magic.
Robot. Think about that for a second. Like, I don't know. I think about the Magna Guards in Star Wars. They get their heads chopped off and they keep fighting. So maybe that's just a reference to Metroid, in the end.
All right, so we go back outside, and I can't remember what happens. I think I go the other way.
Necturne, I don't know this story. Necturne says, "Ask Ted about that time Tony Garcia beat his Create a Crate challenge for Ratchet 3. Does that ring any bells to you?
Well, I've certainly never Tony.
Yeah.
Create a crate challenge.
Is there
for Ratchet 3?
Yeah, something about a crate. I don't know.
We were maybe trying to come up with. Yeah, I did.
Oh, there you go. Oh, nice.
I guess trying to come up with new types of crates.
Oh, that would make sense. Was there like a time? Was it time crate? He said Ted bought him a case of beer for the Inferno crate.
Oh, right. I think that does ring a bell. So I like to give out cases of beer or 6-packs of Corona or whatever people want. Occasionally, if they.
One time you gave me a bottle of Dom.
Did I?
Yeah. Well, I think you had just gotten it from someone else, and then.
What a cheapskate I am.
No. Well, it was, I don't think normally you're handing out bottles of Dom, but you happen to have one because everyone else is Insomniac. Like, wait, Ted's handing out bottles of Dom. What's going on? What is this door? Does that take a bomb to open that door?
Guessing it does.
Oh, maybe
no.
not.
Wait a second.
Interesting. Maybe there's somewhere else to go.
Why did I give you a bottle of Dom?
So it was, if you remember, there was this was actually like pre-Overstrike, and there was an accidental upload of a presentation to the website that had like all this key stuff about EA and Overstrike. And like I happened to like catch it, and I think I just had like a Tourette's moment in that. Like I just started like profusely swearing as I was like trying to delete that page from our website someone tweeted it. And I was just like, please let me delete this before anyone.
I know what that was. That was me. I was posting.
You didn't. It was not you. You did not post it. I know.
I thought I put it on an internal.
There was an internal
YouTube channel.
No, did we just lose you guys over there? We lost a picture. It was not. You did not post it on the site. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
But
I remember there was a video at some point in our history that I had created, and we had an Insomniac private.
We lost
YouTube.
power. It's not you guys.
Did you guys turn off the game?
No.
Not intentionally.
No. Let's see what we lost here. The Nintendo lost power. As weird as that is.
Huh.
Let's see. Now it's back.
All right.
All right.
We'll see.
But I love it. We have technical issue as we talk about that. But yeah, there was some sort of presentation, and it somehow got uploaded to the website. And oh man, I hope you don't have to fight that boss again. But that may be what just happened if we didn't get a save in. Did we run past the ship?
Yes, ran past the ship.
Oh, because that might have let us save at the ship. I'll fight the boss though if you want, real quick.
Yeah, you'll be better at it than I am.
Well, maybe. Then again, you just beat it. I say that, and
well, I've got 99 energy, so it must have been a save. Yeah, that was probably the save. Right, let's see where we are.
Let's see if we can do this. Yeah,
Criteria.
Right.
So I never remembered. I don't remember seeing those names originally. Criteria.
I don't remember that
Not
either.
such a creative name.
No, but that was an interesting era. So I mean, you made games for the U.S. audience, and then would be translated. So. And that was, definitely one of the big problems back then is games were always translated, and sometimes not translated as well.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Or translated, translating very complex ideas and limited amounts of space because Japanese is maybe a slightly more efficient language space-wise. But I think Ratchet and Clank had some pretty interesting translation stories, if I remember right.
Yes, it did. Well, we relied on our Japanese producers to translate the story, but they would also rewrite the story.
Right.
And that was, and I since I don't speak Japanese, I never really was sure what the story was. It was apparently close to what we had written, but there were things that they changed that were very Western influenced, and I'm sorry I can't give you an example that worked better for their audience. The thing for me that really was always more of a shock was seeing the Japanese Ratchet,
right,
with the big eyebrows.
With the big eye. Now there's a good story about that too, right? Like when they asked for the big eyebrows, I feel like you were like, no way.
No, that was earlier. So it was the big eyebrows came after we had essentially finished the game.
Okay.
Ratchet originally was brown and didn't really have any eyebrows at all. He was like a sort of a cat mouse-ish looking character, fox-ish looking character, but with very little coloring. And our Japanese producers were over here for a meeting one time, and they said, we don't really like the way he looks. And my immediate reaction was defensive, thinking, are you kidding? He looks great, so thank you very much. We're just going to keep him the way he is. And they said, they were not deterred at all by my defensiveness and said, well, we think he should be yellow and maybe have stripes on his ears and maybe have some eyebrows. And I got really mad and I said over my dead body, I think. and not a great way to foster good relations with your publisher. But afterward, Dave Gerton, who is one of our principal artists and had designed Ratchet, said, well, let's give it a shot. And he did, and Ratchet looked much better. I mean, instantly gave him more personality, made him pop off the screen, more visual interest as well. And with the eyebrows, helped quite a bit in terms of us being able to express emotion. So that was how Ratchet became much more interesting looking, thanks to our Japanese producers. But then once we had finished the game,
so that was really early then in the sketch process, because I mean Ratchet's first sketches looked pretty similar to how he looked in the end.
Actually, his first sketches were more of a lizard guy.
Well, I mean, I guess the first final design, but that was still his design wasn't finalized. I mean,
right.
Because of the final. And I only know this because I was actually Dave sent me I had the original sketches, and they're going on display at Geller Nucleus I think next month. Because I was like, this is pretty crazy to hold Dave's actual original ink and paper. You could see the pencil and see the ink. It's like this is history right here. This is video game history. This is Ratchet.
Yeah.
It was very mind blowing and really exciting to get those, and I think people will be excited to see them in person.
Yeah, it is neat because you see the evolution of a character, and
sure.
That's especially if it's a character that is endured over many years. And those early, we debated those early sketches quite a bit, just like we did the early Spyro sketches. But
how did Spyro evolve? Because he's this purple dragon. So what was he before being a purple dragon, or as he went into that?
When we decided to make a game about a dragon, I think all of us had different ideas for what a dragon should be. I think Craig, who had suggested we do a game about a dragon, Craig Stitt, said I think he was thinking more of a adult more realistic dragon. And I don't know what I was thinking at the time, but when we moved towards the more family-friendly version, Charles Zimbalist, who was an animator and artist who was working with us at the time, started creating younger sketches with a larger head-to-body ratio, and Spyro started looking cuter and cuter. However, he kind of looked mean as well.
Right.
In the early sketches, we wanted an attitude, but he looked like he could bite your head off, and so he evolved into a more friendly character with big eyes and a happier expression. And then there was the color choice as well. We had no idea what color he should be, so we went through the whole rainbow. And I remember I'm sure we have it around somewhere, a sort of a palette of Spyros in all different colors: orange, green, blue, purple. And purple ended up working because it was, I guess, unusual. I don't think any of us had seen a purple dragon before, or at least not used in popular literature.
I think the only
games.
one I know of is the one at Epcot Center. That Disney had he's like the Epcot mascot of Epcot Center. He's the only other purple dragon I've ever seen, and it always reminds me of Spyro when I've been at Epcot and seen him there. Fidget or something like that. He's super rare. Like you don't see him anywhere outside of Epcot Center though.
Oh.
But that's the only one I've ever seen besides Spyro was Fidget at Epcot Center of all places.
People are gonna say we ripped off Disney.
Honestly, I'd forgotten he existed until I was there last summer or something, and I was like riding this ride. I'm like, what the hell? I'm like, wait, and then I was trying to figure out, like, wait, did they rip off Spyro, or was it just, and they're kind of around the same time? Maybe he was, but I was like, no one ever had seen this guy or known him. I saw some questions in here that are pretty good.
I'll take it over right here.
Okay.
No, you just did the hard part. Thank you.
Let's see. Nectarn asks, what did you think of Doom 2016? Since Doom led to Disruptor, which is the foundation of Insomniac.
I mean, I've been a fan of all the Doom games.
Yep.
Though the very first one will always hold a special place in my heart. I'd actually include that as one of those games that really I love, and we'll go back and play. It just because it defied my own expectations for games. I mean, just their faux 3D, the way they built their environment and made it appear 3D was super, super cool. And I remember being just constantly impressed with how they actually did it. And what was even better was they explained it. And John Carmack, I think, did plenty of speeches and papers on how they created the 3D environment out of essentially 2D elements. I mean, they totally faked it.
Right.
But it worked.
But I feel you would never know. It feels like this 3D real space you're in when you play the original Doom.
Yeah.
I mean, really, Doom was like one of those. I remember just being a kid and seeing that and being like, "Whoa, what? Like you can make a video game like this?"
Yeah.
Like, and I know Wolfenstein maybe was first in that regard, but Doom was the one that I saw. Or that. Oh, you have to use missiles on these guys.
Oh
right?
yeah. Okay.
Maybe? Or maybe you have to use bombs.
I'm trying to not be stupid here. Oh. There
you
we
go. Yeah, of course. Like, hey, we just taught you the bomb. Use your bomb. I remember it was like my dad had gone in. One of his friends, they were picking up one of his friends, or seeing one of his friends for dinner, and were picking up his work. And he's like, I remember my dad coming back. He's like, he just showed me the coolest game on his work computer. It's called Doom, and that was the first time I ever heard about Doom. And he's like, yeah, it's like you actually are looking down the sight of the gun and like moving around. And I was like, whoa, that sounds cool. And little did you know, it was like the first time you ever heard about what a first-person shooter is. And I distinctly remember that moment. Whoa, you could do that? And anyway, that's how big first-person shooters were when they first happened. Like, it was...
Well, or how big that first-person shooter was. 'Cause I don't think there were any other ones other than...
Yeah, it was Wolfenstein. Yeah, that was it. There's those two.
So essentially, I think invented that genre, didn't they?
Basically, yeah.
I mean, there were other first-person games. I remember, I think it was Wizardry was another one that I really enjoyed.
And I think there's other games that put you in that, you would explore like a castle or a dungeon, and you would look down the hallways and pick where you're going, but not that real-time action game.
Yeah.
That was just a gigantic, huge change to the industry.
Yep.
Let's see. I know I saw there good questions in here. Let's see. Yeah, Sonic Destroyer. Are you guys excited for Wolfenstein 2? Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it looked. I mean, I remember going to the Bethesda booth at E3 this year, and the line to get in, I think, was 2 hours.
Yeah, just
so
nuts.
People
Just
are pretty
nuts.
stoked about it.
Yeah, Bethesda's had a great fall too with that and Evil Within and everything else. Someone said that the FPS mini game in Spyro 3 is using the Doom engine. No, it's just using our engine and using probably like Disruptor, like I would imagine.
Yeah, it was definitely using our engine.
It was definitely using like Disruptor stuff. But it wasn't using anyone else's. Okay, this is kind of a hot industry topic, so we'll get your take on it a little. What do you think about the recent trend of microtransactions and loot boxes from the developer side? Like, I wholeheartedly support a dev trying to extend life of their product through season passes and DLC. But how do you think that? I guess this is kind of a larger industry economics question too. But like, from your perspective, what are those challenges, and why do you see this sort of thing happening? And
well, I mean, there was a great article yesterday where a bunch of editors were debating the future of AAA games.
Yep.
I think you saw that one. And I mean, everybody makes great points, one of which is that AAA games are extremely expensive to produce, and they're really risky because your audience is fixed at the number of PCs or consoles that are out there and active. So, what do you do to ensure that you can afford to make these games? And you have to make a great game, but B, you have to be able to bring in enough revenue to cover your costs. And microtransactions is a way to do it. I think personally they have to be meaningful for the game, and make you as a player feel like it's expanding your experience in some way, or enhancing your experience in some way. Frankly, for me as a player, if I'm into a game, like if I bought into the world and I love what I'm doing in the game, I'm fine with it. And it's a choice that I make. It's not required. So
yeah, I think that's one of the big keys is making it so it can be an additive choice, not a required element by any means.
Right.
Well, I think it's also a hard thing because people say, well, games are $60. Like, games don't last at $60 for very long anymore.
Right. That's right.
And games are $60 for a few months, and then they're $40, and then they're $20, and sometimes they're purchased. Sometimes they're purchased new, sometimes they're purchased used. And I totally understand why people make those decisions to try and play as many games or play games as economically as they can. It's not necessarily a cheap hobby, but those are all kind of the realities I think developers are grappling with, and how do you survive, and how do you make the games you want to make in an era of game prices that fall pretty quickly. I even think back to say the Super Nintendo era. I remember games coming out at $80 or $100.
Yes, that's right.
Games used to, like Chrono Trigger definitely was like an $80 game. I think Super Street Fighter cost $100 when it came out. It was a $99 cartridge. And to be fair, some of that had to do with the physical cost of replication. Like those cartridges, the more memory was in there, the more expensive they were. But I think that should blow up. It should blow up just like the others, shouldn't it?
This one, that one does, but because that's a hidden block. And then this one, what am I doing here? I need to put a bomb on it.
Oh no, that was just a missile holder. I think you have to go back out. So I think it's just giving you a free missile.
It's so funny. I keep on thinking it's Mario, and I can go down it, but I can't. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, it does. It is like a little reuse asset there. We'll move Mario Pipe over. So yeah, and loot boxes to me, like again, I think maybe it makes sense for some games, but I don't know if it makes sense for all games. It feels like in that, I don't know. I'm not as super. So that whole floor doesn't.
Right.
Yeah,
that's
it's
right.
Like, you can't go through. Right? So you do have to. I think you have to come back here later. Or can you? Roll
no, I
think
I think I can roll across it. I think that's what I recall. We'll see if I.
What?
Sprint? I can't sprint. I don't have a sprint.
We don't have sprint yet. So this is a comeback later.
Is it? Yeah, it is.
It's a comeback later.
Okay.
That's always the one thing, though. Sometimes it's like, am I missing something? Am I forgetting something? Or do I just not have the right ability?
Yeah.
And that was always like, I remember playing games like that where if you missed a room or something, like, wait, I feel like I should be able to go in here, but I can't. Am I missing something I should do?
Oh, I have not saved in a while. This is I'm okay.
Yeah, you should be okay.
No, that's not what I want. What? The other thing I'm not very good at is leaving enemies behind without killing them.
Well, they're just so tempting, and then they drop health and.
Yeah.
Someone said I think how you guys handle transactions on Outer Knots is really good.
Well, I think that's a good. I mean, Outer Knots is a different type of game though too. And I'll tell you one game I have been playing a lot of lately because my son's really into it is Clash Royale, and I think their approach is great. I mean, right, but
you got it. Oh well, it was only 5 health. Oh.
But they've got it down to a science, and some people bemoan that and accuse companies like Supercell and Zynga of being money grabbing. But frankly, it's fun. It's if you like those types of games, they're helping you scratch that itch. Okay, I need a few more cards to upgrade this particular character so I can help my clan get better by winning a few more trophies or crowns. Cool.
Yep.
That's fine. And plus, I'm not paying anything for the game anyway. So
right. Yeah. And on the free-to-play games, I think it makes total sense. I know people would get more like, I paid $60, I paid $40 for this. Why are there still things? But I think it just depends on what that content is and if it makes sense, especially for some of these games that last, multiplayer games that people play for hundreds and hundreds of hours.
Yeah.
Every game is different, and I think, at some level, gamers have a huge say in these sort of things too, because, you vote with your voices and you vote with your dollars, and you tell people what you think is right and what's wrong, and oh, interesting. That's great. Oh, there you go. You just had to kill everything to reopen it. And there's a save point, one room down.
Is there? Okay, right. I see it.
Someone said, "Thank you guys for discussing that hot button issue." Sure, look, happy to, give you our thoughts. Look, we don't have any, example of stuff in the market. Ratchet's very much a single player game, and all the unspoken content's been released, additively onto the game as we've gone with Oculus without having to charge folks for that. So, there's a lot of ways we can approach things, but like I said, that means every game is different, every deal is different, every revenue situation is different.
In some ways, every audience is different too.
That's for single player type games versus multiplayer type games versus free to play mobile games. Let's see, what else do we got? Here's an IP question. You've created a lot of different IP that you own now. Fuse, Sunset, VR games, mobile games. How do you decide when it's time to feature those again or make a sequel? Like what's the next step after you create and own an IP?
It really depends on what we think the audience wants and how much it will cost to make that sequel. I mean, Sunset is something that I know a lot of our fans talk about wanting to see the sequel. We need a partner for that. Yep. That's a big game. Or a Sunset 2 would be a very large scope game.
So you're saying, like, if you found the right publisher to publish Sunset Overdrive 2, that would be the right situation for that game.
That's right.
And then that publisher, then it means it could come out on it could come out on multiple platforms, not just on Xbox.
Yeah. That would be the intent.
There's something for you guys. So call your favorite publisher, tell them, hey, Insomniac owns Sunset. Bring us Sunset Overdrive 2 on PS4, and Xbox One, on PC, all of them.
Tell them that Sunset actually, when it was part of Games for Gold, was played by a lot of people.
The numbers are gigantic, right?
Yes, millions.
Millions and millions of people have downloaded and played Sunset Overdrive 1. We've been featuring, it's Blocktober. If you haven't seen this on social media, you have basically like blocked out level designer art, how they block things out to kind of create, hey, this is the space and this is the feel, and they do that before an environment artist goes in there. So I have a ton of this stuff, especially from Sunset, more than anything else. I've got a little bit of Ratchet, a little bit of like old Resistance. I actually have a block playthrough of Minetown from Resistance 3, which is gonna be pretty cool. Put that video up sometime in the next couple weeks.
Okay.
But we've been posting a lot of the Sunset ones, and it's pretty cool seeing people react to, oh, that's so neat how like this is how you design it ahead of time, and then this is the brewery night defense, or this is an area of the city, and then this is what it ends up looking like after environment's gone through and made it into what you players saw in the final game. But
I think if you're an aspiring designer, it's a great way to just have a glimpse into what goes into design. And I think it's also important to note too that we block those things out because we know we're going to make mistakes early on, and it's much better to use blocked out geometry versus final art.
Changing final art's expensive.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
So. And it's also frustrating for artists, right? If you've spent a lot of time on a level and you've made it just the way you want, and a designer says, hey, guess what? People can't figure out their way through the level, or this particular area needs to be changed, because then you're going back and redoing all of this stuff that you put your heart and soul into. So I think as a studio, we absolutely ascribe to the boxing, gray box it out first. On the other hand, and this is an internal debate we have as well, you do have to take certain things to final to understand what it is that you're making. We debate the validity of, say, creating the game completely in gray box form and playing all the way through it before we start putting in final art. And I think it's arguable how much value there is. They're certainly valuable for the team, but when you have partners and people outside of the team need to understand your vision, you definitely have to show off something that's presentable.
Right. You got to show some final. You got to bring some areas up to that final art or close to final, so they can say, "Oh, I get it." It's
right.
hard. It's hard for people to understand your vision until they see they see it all put together.
Absolutely. And that's whether it's a lot of the times happens on your own team, right?
For sure. And I mean, I think you can see that anywhere in video games. Like video games or anything else, when you're building something, like you see this wall in this room and it doesn't necessarily make sense until it's like we decorate it. Like, oh, okay, I kind of get the aesthetic now. Like that sort of vibe, like on anything anyone does, I think is a big deal.
But you, as the person who's originating, have it in your head.
Right. You can imagine, and you can't even. And sometimes it's hard to even say it or explain it to people because it's one of those things where, when you see it, seeing is believing, I guess.
Yes. It can be frustrating too if you're that person and you think, well, why can't you see what I'm seeing? Why can't you understand the words I'm saying? Why can't you turn it into the pictures that I have in my head? Which I always find amusing.
I'm missing the Silent Tremor, but I see you guys talking about songs from Hamilton, and that makes me happy because I'm obsessed with Hamilton music right now. What was it? Kratos God of War 342 asked, while you work with Sony on Ratchet and Clank games, do they have input during the development?
Yeah, I mean, we like working with Sony and our other partners because they're vocal.
Yeah.
We need feedback. It's really easy to get myopic about the designs or art or features that you're creating because you live it day to day and you don't have the first-time user's experience. Our partners tend to have that and give us a lot of very constructive and useful feedback.
Yeah, and so like in the case of Sunset Overdrive, Microsoft had feedback. In the case of working with EA, they have feedback. Microsoft, they have feedback. Working on Spider-Man, Sony has feedback. Marvel has feedback. So there's always outside partners. And in some ways, it's good too because you get a set of eyes that maybe isn't as close as we are, and B, you have someone sometimes pushing you a little bit too and trying to hey, like we like that, but can you do this? And can you make it even better? And have that extra.
I'll give you a good example of that. On Sunset Overdrive, the air dash for us was it was an upgrade you could earn or equip, I think, at one point. Mm-hmm. And Ken Lobb, who was the creative director at Microsoft at the time, said, "Hey guys, why don't you just make it a permanent upgrade? Why don't you just give the players this ability at a certain point in the game?" And I remember we were resistant to it because we just thought, well, no, it's going to be fine as an ability. But once we put it in, everybody here went, yeah, that's it. That actually makes the game what we envisioned in the first place.
Yeah, it lets you chain everything really. Like it was. I mean, it's huge. It's almost one of those things where if there's one thing, it was like we should have given it earlier. Even like it was that it's that good in the game that. Everyone always talks about just play it till you get to the air dash, right. and then you'll really that's where the game really starts to open up. Yeah. PGP Carlos I think, and Tonic, thank you both for the follows. Appreciate you guys following us on Twitch. If you haven't followed, click below. We've got a lot of great shows coming up next week. We're gonna be playing Uncharted Lost Legacy. We're actually playing Sunset Overdrive. We're gonna do the second DLC for Sunset Overdrive. We have a first outside guest, but he's a former Insomniac, coming in for that episode. We'll have Brandon Winfrey here because we kill him in that episode, in that DLC of Sunset Overdrive. And then we're gonna be playing.
Oh, seriously?
But hey, you were to save point right away.
True. That's true. I should have used my missiles.
Super Mario Odyssey comes out next Friday, so that's a big one.
Yeah,
that's a big game, and definitely very excited for that. Let's see. There was a good.
Oh, I got it. Since you mentioned the Nintendo game, one of the other ones I played just incessantly was Breath of the Wild.
Oh yeah.
Like everybody else, but what a masterpiece that game is.
Brian Hastings was on the show earlier this week, and he was talking about how he's now collecting all of the golden poops. And he's going through to find all 999 or whatever now. He's like at 360 or something like that. But he said that's like that's the game he just plays because it's like comfort food for him. He can just sit down and just relax and explore. And
I can totally see that.
Yeah.
I mean, because it is when you can just climb cliffs and glide around. It is relaxing.
Outside of like the Hearthstone type games, but for like a single player-ish game like that, for me to put in 100 hours. Oh, nice with the missile. I put in 100 hours, no problem in that game. Did all 120 shrines, and it was just like I was obsessed with it. I couldn't put it down. Absolutely terrific. What was it? There was a good question I saw. So Ted, how does an English major who worked at a medical clinic end up founding a video game studio? Did you teach yourself coding animation stuff?
Yes, I did.
You taught yourself a lot of things.
I did. But it was a medical company. It's a company called Call Doctor Incorporated, and my uncle started it. He has always had a vision for improving care in the home, and he's actually an emergency physician, a naval emergency physician he's a brilliant guy, but he realized, I'm sorry I'm going off on medicine here, but he realized that as a country we spend an inordinate amount of money on unnecessary emergency room visits, and the way to get around that, and also to save taxpayers' money, save patients' money, is to deliver care in the home at the level of an emergency room, which is absolutely possible if you have the right equipment. So he built these vans that are equipped at the level of an emergency room with X-ray machines, blood machines that will analyze your blood, etc. And he takes a doctor and a technician out to a house. Okay, I'm not concentrating here, and delivers that care. And this actually helps a lot of folks who are shut-ins, who refuse to go to the hospital for one reason or another. It's just a brilliant service. So anyway, I came out and oh my gosh, I was a med tech on the vans after college, and eventually got kicked off the vans for various reasons, mostly because I'm not a paramedic, and ended up becoming the financial controller for the company when the financial controller quit. Or got married. She got married and she left.
And so then you're doing finances and accounting and...
Yeah. And was doing a lot of programming their medical databases where we would collect market research so we could take it to Congress and demonstrate the importance and efficacy of house calls to get the Medicare codes changed.
Got it.
But doesn't sound as interesting as video games, right?
So then how do you decide to start a video game studio out of that? Or is it I got to do something else?
Well, partly was I realized I wasn't as passionate about medicine as the doctors in the company, and I wanted to do something more creative and artistic. So I've been programming, but I'd also been creating a lot of 3D art on the side. Actually, I did something for Logitech where they I rendered something for them, and they put it on one of the boxes for their controllers. That was cool. Oh my gosh, come on. I got 4 energy left. Can I do it?
I don't know.
Nope. Okay, now he's going fast. Anyway, so I decided, well, what I'll do is I'll consult and write databases, and I'll use whatever I earn to buy a 3DO dev kit and eventually maybe a Silicon Graphics workstation, which was that was
really
wishful thinking at the time.
Right.
And well, the best way to accomplish that is maybe to start a game company and make a game based on one that I really, really like, which at the time was Doom. So that's how.
And then you found Al and Brian and.
Well, so I was working in San Diego in a little 10x10 office and failing miserably at programming on the 3DO dev kit, and what?
Oh, you got hit.
Oh.
All right, I'm gonna give this
you
one
do
a try.
it.
I'm gonna give
So
this
I'll
one
give
one shot.
talking. And I told my parents, who were back in Virginia, that I had started this game company, and I don't know if they knew it was just me. Maybe I might have said that. But my mom was at a Christmas party, and she was talking to one of her friends whose son was still at Princeton, which was my alma mater.
Right.
And her son's roommate was Al Hastings. And her son had told his mom, who told my mom, that Al was the smartest guy he had ever met. and was a brilliant programmer. So my mom told me this. She said, maybe you should call him if you're having trouble accomplishing anything out there. So I called Al. I feel better.
I did only have 56 health when I dropped down into that, but
Oh.
yeah, you should feel better because that was bad. It was like I dropped right into 2 of them. I was like, oh, this isn't gonna go well. This is not gonna go
Shouldn't
well.
it give you full health? after
No,
the
I don't
save?
think the save points do. I think
Oh,
the
you're
ship
right.
does.
That's right.
That's
Okay.
the only place you get the full health. And as soon as I dropped down into the 2 of those, I was like, oh, this is gonna go poorly. They're right on top of me. So you gave Al a call.
Gave Al a call, and Al's a man of very few words, and so we had about a 2-sentence conversation. He agreed. We got along immediately on the phone, and he agreed to come out to California while he was finishing up his senior year. We met, we hit it off, and he said, "Okay, after graduation, I'll just join you out there." So he came out, and we started working on the demo for Disruptor. He wrote the engine for Disruptor in about a month, which is amazing. The full 3D engine, and I was just doing the art and animation and sound, and we put it together on a videotape and got into my car and started driving around and showing it to publishers. And we got rejected pretty much everywhere until we went to Universal Studios up here in LA. That was our last possible presentation we could make before I was completely out of money. And that's where we met Mark Cerny.
Mm-hmm.
And Mark said, wow, you guys are pretty talented for guys who've never made games before. And I think he was talking about Al, because his engine was brilliant. And when I remember driving back down to San Diego thinking, well, great, he says we're talented, but what are we going to do because we're out of money? And he had left a message on my phone saying, let's do a deal.
On an answering machine?
On my answering machine, yeah, back when there were answering machines. That was awesome, and that's what I recall, at least. It may have been that he said, hey, we're considering doing a deal, but I heard in my head,
like,
we're going to do a 3-game deal, you guys are all set. And so we did the deal, and the first thing we did after that was call Al's brother, Brian Hastings, who was working at Siemens at the time, I think writing technical documentation. And he joined us, and that's how we got started.
Wow.
Well, at least at that point, we went right into pre-production on Disruptor. And that was a roller coaster ride because none of us, as Mark had pointed out, had made a game before, and we were absolutely learning on the fly. I mean, Brian was writing the tools,
Right.
Al was writing the engine, I was trying to design levels and enter coordinates for polygons on graph paper, which was how we were making our levels. So
Yeah, literally, you were writing these on graph paper and then inputting coordinates.
yeah, so I would draw in 3D. I would make perspective drawings of the levels that we had agreed on, which were pretty simple, perspective drawings, squares and rectangles and stuff, and then would have to figure out just the coordinates in 3D space, and then Al's engine would take those coordinates in a spreadsheet or CSV form and draw the polygons. Or maybe it was Brian's tools would process it, and then Al's engine would draw it. So that's how we delivered our first playable to Universal. We also had brought on a contract animator who was doing fully rendered monsters for us, which is pretty cool. I mean, he was creating the walk cycles, move cycles, death cycles, but rendering them out at 8 different angles.
Right.
So just like at that time most games did, because it was all sprite based. And so our enemies, I thought, looked really good. Our environments, not so much. And we failed our first playable.
So you fail your first big milestone on your first deal, you fail.
We did, and it was terrifying because there were consequences for that. And I had signed a contract that was, I didn't realize at the time, it was pretty onerous.
Right. But like knowing that you were guys that didn't know what you were doing, they probably didn't give you the best deal in the world.
Yeah, and I would that was Universal's legal department, who I imagine was used to dealing with movie producers or movie producers' lawyers,
Right.
who were more savvy than we were at the time, or than I was at the time. So it was a good learning experience. But we ended up moving to LA as a result of failing that first playable, because it was sort of do or die at that point. And it was, I remember at that point, for I think the second time, or the first time in my career out of 2, saying, we will move to LA over my dead body. And we moved to LA, because at that point there really wasn't much of a choice.
Right.
And we ended up living in temporary housing across the street from Universal, where we shared a room. Al, Brian, and I all shared a room, and we would hot swap beds, because while one of us was sleeping, the other 2 were working to try to get the first playable done. and I'll give a lot of kudos to Mark Cerny and Michael John, who were right there with us, helping us get to that point.
And make the game a reality.
Yeah,
That's
and it was really proving why should we make this game, which is what First Playable should be doing.
Right.
Giving you the look and feel. And once we got that, it was a little easier. But throughout the entire production, it was a lot of discovery for us. Discovery, how to balance a game, how to create weapons that had impact, how to create a story. The story itself, that whole process was ludicrous. I mean, looking back on it, it was, I guess, entertaining because we were filming the story. This is back in the days of
Right. It was a
Warhawk.
full motion video. It was a full motion video.
You go ahead, and you're doing really well.
Yeah, I don't know how I managed to do that. Someone asked if I was typing in the chat as Insomniac Games while I was playing, and I was just like, you guys think I'm really much better than I am if you thought I was the one that was typing while the controller was in my hand. Now this has to be a double jump, right? Oh no, there it is. I was like, there's a ledge. I'm like,
This, and here's another little thing that made this game so cool. I mean, just changing the color palette to sepia, right?
Right.
Just interesting. They didn't have to do it, but it just
like that
makes
idea.
the game more dynamic.
Yep. Oh, this like you've killed this plant creature and now everything dies.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the fake. That was
Yeah.
the two. There was the Mario
Yeah.
pipe right there. So we're basically out of time, but I want to see if there's any final questions. Oh wait, we did get an item. We should see what it is. Super missile, which probably lets us open the green doors. I
Okay,
bet.
green doors.
I bet that's the green doors. Let's see if it's coming up here.
Should
I
be a
have to
green
know.
door. Nope.
Oh.
You would think there'd be a green door there, right?
Yeah, you would think like, oh, hey, this is your green door missile. Like, use it well. So if there's any other final questions, I'm not seeing anything there though. Yep, there it is. There's a green door, as we said. And I like it's so heavy that like enemies fall out of the plants. Like, oh, you were just little touches like that. Like, oh, this missile's so powerful it shakes the entire world. And then there's and that's the use your super missile.
Oh, but I go.
Yeah, got it. And so, here's the blocks that are. Wait, let's see.
Is this gonna knock you? There are definitely some puzzles in here where you have to use the bombs to move up.
Yep. You have to do it up all the way up. Oh, and then there's some more. Another missile container. Yeah. So let's see. This is a good one. Final question that I'm stealing out of here. I don't know what the staff have been inoculated about, guys, but I'll let you have that one. Nectarine, do you remember favorite Quark joke moment that you can recall?
Best one for me was when we really discovered who Quark's personality, what his personality was, and that was the Al's RoboShack commercial in the very first Ratchet when Quark is, it's Quark I think is being. A snaggle beast is bearing down on Quark,
right? And
the action freezes, and he says, "Have you ever been in a situation where you need a great weapon? Well, go to Al's RoboShack." Yeah, and I remember looking at Brian or Al and saying, "Yep, that's him. That's the personality we need." And it became. I'm not sure if I said that or one of us said it, but that was the moment Quark was born for me.
Got it. Right then and there. Have this ever happened to you? And then a second part of that, do you remember who came up with the crotchetizer and Going Commando?
Oh, I'm thinking it was Oliver Wade.
I feel like Oliver gets blamed on a lot of things.
Not blamed. I mean, it was it was probably Oliver or John Lolly. And if they're watching, they're probably not.
We have had guys like we've had some. Michael John was on here when we were playing Spyro 3. Was in the chat, so we've definitely had some old school Insomniacs that come back. Though usually they come back when we're playing games they worked on.
Well, you know who would know the answer to that?
Who?
John Fiorito.
Oh yeah, I figured John would know. John knows where most of the jokes came from back in the day.
His memory is astounding.
It is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
It is pretty crazy. John Fiorito is a Giants fan, so we've been razzing him a lot today because Dodgers in the World Series. What's up? Okay, so I think that's just about it for today. Ted, thank you very much for coming on and playing some Super Metroid with us, answering some questions from the chat.
This is fun. I'll do this anytime.
All right, cool. Well, we're going to hold you to that. And we're actually going to play Disruptor, I think, in a few weeks.
Excellent.
So maybe we'll have you swing back by and talk a little bit about making Disruptor. We were playing it when we were testing this whole room on PlayStation, and that game actually holds up relatively well. I mean, for the first-person shooters that weren't actually 3D and used like no analog sticks, it still holds up really well. I was like, yeah, this is pretty sweet.
I would. That would be so much fun.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna make that happen. So keep an eye out for that. Next week, great shows coming Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on Twitch. Make sure you click the follow button. It'll tell you when we're live. But we're gonna play great stuff like Uncharted, Mario Odyssey, Sunset Overdrive. So really exciting week next week. Ted, thanks for coming. In the meantime, you can always follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Insomniac Games on all those channels. Jump in our Discord channel, chat with us there. And thank you all for watching today, and we'll see you guys next Monday with Uncharted Lost Legacy, and a couple of our animators will be here playing with us as well.